We have an active week full of planetary transits. We have some interesting things going on this week. The first half of the week is going to have more of a positive tone, while the second half of the week might feel a little bit uncomfortable. Venus is going into Gemini right at the beginning of the week, allowing us to seek mental stimulation in our love life situations. Also, Venus will be making the most alignments this week, allowing us to focus on our love life situations, self-worth and self-esteem issues, and how we earn money. And looking at the vibes on the graph, it absolutely reflects that even split I was seeing through the week. So we've got that first half of the week that has a lot of favorable energy, and the second half has some uncomfortable stuff to deal with. Good luck energy is the highest on the graph from the 10th all the way up until the 12th, and it's intersecting psychic energy, which is also the second highest on the graph and will be with us throughout the week. Mostly that psychic energy will taper off on the 15th, but it is intersecting that good luck energy. And the interesting thing about that is we do have some good luck vibes from Jupiter and the Sun that's going to be occurring throughout this week. But mixed in with that psychic energy, you might have intuitive hits and moments where you get a hunch about something that might be favorable or an opportunity and take action as a result. So you might be able to suss out some fortunate situations. Romantic energy will also be present from the 10th all the way up until the 12th. This is because of the Venus alignments that we have going on right at the beginning of the week. Venus is going into Gemini. Venus is also going to be connecting with Pluto in a way that's going to be helpful in terms of romantic situations. So that could be a period where you're feeling like situations are more flirtier than normal and more intense in a good way, in a romantic way. Also from the 10th to the 12th, we have social vibes intersecting that. We also have emotional sensitivity and imagination and confusion. There's definitely some Neptune stuff going on in the background. There will be a moon in Pisces going on. And so that can create moments where we're feeling extra sensitive to energies. With that high amount of psychic energy being present and this being a smaller amount, we might have moments where we feel slightly uncomfortable about maybe something we're feeling intuitively, or like waking up from a weird dream that makes us feel off kilter in some sort of way with this type of energy. But there's a social element that's still here. And so even though all of this is present, there may be moments where we're wanting to get together with other people. Also from the 11th all the way throughout the rest of the week, family and friends energies will be present. So we could be dealing with situations where we're having to deal with relatives. Some of it might be social and fun. And, you know, as we get to the second half of the week with all of the edgier stuff going on, we've got psychic energy, we have solitude, and we also have emotional sensitivity going on from the 13th all the way up until the 15th. So with energy like that, there could be moments where things are not so kosher and we're having to deal with our emotions. Something might be triggering us. It might be associated with relatives. It might be associated with family and friends. But either way, it may cause us to want to go into our shell and just have some space to ourselves. So this week is definitely a weird even split and will feel starkly different from one half to the other. So it will be fascinating for sure. Let's look at the next bunch of days and see what we can expect. As a reminder, don't forget to like and subscribe because it helps this channel grow. And if you'd like to support the work of this channel, you could do so by buying me a fresh cup of coffee. There's a link in the description box below. If you've been looking for an excuse to be more versatile in your love life and the way you earn money, you're in luck. Venus is going into Gemini. As we leave the fixed methodology of how we do relationships and financial situations with Venus and Taurus, we shift to a more, let's not put all of our eggs in one basket, and take an ambidextrous approach regarding love life and money situations. With Venus and Gemini, we take a more lighthearted approach to these things. We take a more playful approach to these things, and we take a leave our options open approach to these things. This is because of the easygoing and curious nature of Gemini. And so when you combine that with a planet that has to do with our self-esteem, the way we earn money, our love lives, what we enjoy, social situations, and how we adorn ourselves, the vibe turns to a more multifaceted way of being. So this should help us get out of whatever stuckness we've been in since Venus has been in Taurus. This should help us get out of any of the ruts that we might have fallen into, because obviously when you deal with the lower vibrations of the sign, we can get stuck in ruts within a Venus and Taurus energy. Venus and Gemini energy obviously has a slower vibration, but something like this will help us if we've been just feeling like stagnant within these areas of our lives. When it comes to our love lives, this could be a time when we're deciding that we need to have better options for ourselves. So if you're single, this might be a period where you're realizing that it's not wise to put your eggs in one basket. You're realizing it's not wise to just bet on one person, especially if you're not committed to that person. Helpful in seeing who else is out there, what else is out there love life wise. An energy like this is detached attached and curious. So what it does is it helps us in terms of meeting someone for the first time and going out on a date with them, but realizing that you don't have to lock it in with this person because it's new and you don't know where it's going to go. And you're curious about other options that are available for you that might be better for you. And being open to different people helps us get to know ourselves better, because through this, we get to know our deal breakers and we get to know what we need and what we really do like and have to have in our relationships. If you're in a committed romantic union, this could be a period where things are getting more playful with you guys. This could be a period where you guys are switching things up in terms of the dates you guys are going on, bringing more spontaneous, being more flirty with one another, and having some of the best dialogue you can possibly have. With Venus and Gemini, we become very conversational within this energy. We actually get attractions sometimes through this energy through dialogue. In other words, this tends to be a very sapial sexual energy in itself, meaning gaining an attraction through intellectual stimulation or the way words are conveyed. So this could be a real turn on for couples conversation wise. And if you're single, you might be meeting the intellectual types that draw you in simply because they're great conversationalists and offer up a witty banter. Socially, we could feel more open in that area as well. Venus in Gemini is amazing for being socially fluid. In other words, it enables you to be able to hang out with various different types of people from different walks of life and being open to different, which allows us to be open to different points of view. And also it allows us to expand our social circle. So we're not as limited. That's also another important thing in life. It's good to have variety within your friends group. It's good to have variety within your platonic relationships. So this could be a period where you're starting to develop that, or you're starting to see ways to meet different types of people rather than hanging within the same circle. That Gemini energy can hop from different group to different group. And again, that's just a good thing to have in your life. Variety is important. I'm speaking as somebody with Venus and Gemini, so of course I have a little bit of a bias when it comes down to this energy. So I always think it's beneficial for people to open themselves up to all the possibilities that the world has to offer them. And so I'm a big believer in not limiting yourself to one thing, and especially when it comes down to income. And in this energy, the need to have multiple sources of income might become pronounced within this energy. This is the kind of energy that needs variety when it comes to job. One, because boredom sets in very easily with Venus and Gemini, but number two, it's good to have other options available. It's good to have other streams of income available. So this might be a period where you're looking at ways to earn multiple streams. It could be more so in the form of side hustles or other part-time work that brings you in more income. And if you're not initiating all of that right now, you could be researching ways to create multiple streams of income through this transit. And speaking of income, Venus has a lot to do with what we splurge on and how we adorn ourselves. So this could be a period where you might be switching things up when it comes down to your wardrobe. You might be seeking a little bit more versatility within your wardrobe and finding cool, trendy ways to play up your looks. Also produce a need to update your gadgets, update anything to do with communication stuff. Communication stuff being phones or a tablet or getting a new laptop. But we'll really have the urge to buy gadgety and nerdy things. But there's, of course, a lower vibration as there is anytime a planet changes signs. And with this, it's not the most consistent energy. It can be kind of a flaky energy. So socially, our batteries will be higher than normal. So we'll have the bandwidth to be social with everybody else. At the same time, this can be a very flaky energy, so we might have moments where we're not consistent when it comes down to replying back to others or flaking on something important that we need to take care of. An energy like this needs constant stimulation and can get bored pretty quickly, so that can also be problematic within this. Because this is Venus combined with an air sign, there is a sense of detachment within this. And not Aquarian detachment, but more so within a Gemini detachment. It's a little bit aloof and can easily take or leave situations, things, or people, especially when it gets bored or especially when it's over something. So if we're dealing with romantic situations, that could be very problematic. If we're dealing with work situations where you have to absolutely be consistent with those things, that could be problematic as well. And because of the need to have constant things going on at once and a ton of variety, we do have to be careful in that because it is a slippery slope. While it's good to have our options open, the problem with this energy is it needs to be the butcher, baker, and candlestick maker when it comes down to everything. And so of course this can translate into our work when it comes down to how we earn money, because Venus is how we earn our funds. So some of this can result in burnout if we're overdoing it. So that's something to be aware of within this energy. Other than that, this is fun, lighthearted, and witty, so let's soak it up for all of its lovely qualities. And right out the gate on that day, Venus is going to make a trine to Pluto. And when Venus and Pluto get together, it brings about a need for profoundness in our relationships. In other words, this could bring out some intensity when it comes down to our love lives, but in a healthy way, in an easy, well, I don't want to say easy when it comes down to Pluto, but in a harmonious way when it comes down to an alignment like this. So romantically, Venus just transited into a sign that's not the most commitment oriented. We still might think of ways to take our love life seriously in an energy like this. So we might be considering how we might go about that, what would be the right timeline for us in terms of committing to someone. But if you're already in a committed relationship, this could be a day of having deep conversations when it comes down to your love life, where things are going, and connecting on an intense mental level with one another. An energy like this can transform the way you think about relationships. Also, this can bring in fated connections that turn into something serious down the line, because Venus and Pluto combinations up the chances of getting into a karmic relationship. So this could bring about that type of energy within that day. And luck can be on our side when it comes down to these things, because the sun's going to make a conjunction with Jupiter. And not only is this a fortunate alignment, this is excellent for inflating our egos in a healthy way. So if we were experiencing a shaky sense of self, this could be great for boosting our confidence. This is excellent for feeling self-motivated again if we felt as though nothing was working out and we just didn't have the energy and we just weren't feeling self-motivated, so we weren't putting ourselves out there or initiating things that we needed. But this could be great for reigniting our driven side, so we might feel motivated to go after opportunities that we've put on the back burner, or again, we just didn't feel motivated because of whatever might have been going on with us. This vibe is very happy-go-lucky, so if you've been craving fun and adventure, this is going to be the perfect opportunity to capitalize on that. Like I was saying at the beginning of the week, so favorable, so positive, despite maybe a few things on the graph that were a little bit hard. But this energy in itself, it motivates us, it helps us feel enthusiastic, it helps us feel jovial. So we'll be in the mood to be social, especially with all that Venus and Gemini energy combined with all of this. So this is going to get us wanting to seek out an adventure. This will get us in the mood to mingle with others and inflate our need to plan a get together or a party. I mean, it's in Aries energy. We've got Jupiter in Aries and the Sun in Aries, so it might be spontaneous. This is impromptu party vibes. Not saying you'll have a party on a Monday, although some people do. Some people's Mondays are their Friday due to not working a traditional 9 to 5. Some people are off on Mondays and Tuesdays, so you never know what can happen on this day with the Sun and Jupiter and Aries in a conjunction with one another. And again, this brings in fortunate energy, so there might be some fortunate news on this day. There may be something fortunate that happens, whether it's monetarily, whether again it's an opportunity, or something that just brings a sense of luck, because luck could be in the form of anything. It doesn't always have to be money, although it can be. But whatever the situation might be, definitely go for the gold, because this is the perfect opportunity and the perfect vibes for it. Let's soak this up. And let's soak that up as much as we can, because once we get to the second half of the week, there's more harsher energies. On the 12th, Venus will be in a semisquare with Chiron, which could cause us to realize where we are taking the bare minimum in relationships. In other words, we could come to a realization that a lot of the stuff that we're accepting in terms of what we get from a partner is the absolute bare minimum when it comes down to affection, when it comes down to passion, when it comes down to actually being there and just doing what needs to be done in the relationship. And so an energy like this, of course, is harsh because it gets us thinking about those things. At the same time, it's a nudge to figure out exactly how we want to approach the situation, whether it's by speaking to the person, whether it's about moving forward from that relationship. Of course, obviously, that's not an overnight thing. When these transits come up, especially stuff like this, that's not overnight stuff. Although it can be depending on the alignment. Sometimes we might feel like our hand is forced in certain alignments, and so we make a decision right away. But most of the time with stuff like this, it's because we're getting that nudge that we need to do something about this. We're getting that nudge to heal those parts of ourselves that accepts the bare minimum, because we deserve so much more in our love lives. And because this is Venus, this could also translate into job situations as well. Sometimes that can't be helped. You got to do what you got to do. You got to pay bills. At the same time, this is probably one of those things where it would be a nudge to start looking at your alternatives, see what else is out there options-wise in terms of jobs, and start putting your resume out there. It's not to say to leave a job right away, because I never recommend that. Always have an exit strategy with everything if you're going to leave something. But this is an energy reminding you to make yourself a priority and eventually get yourself to a point where you're aiming for higher things in your life. By the time we get to the 14th, we have more Venus alignments. And Venus is making a square with Saturn. Venus is still at that lower degree of Gemini. Saturn is still at the lower degree of Pisces. And so we're going to get a square from the two of them. And with an alignment like this, it allows for us to see where we're settling. Where we're settling for less in our relationships, just kind of like the Venus-Chiron alignment, but different. Venus and Saturn in a square to one another causes us to look at where a relationship is unfulfilling. And unfulfilling for various reasons. Unfulfilling because there's no vulnerability, there's no passion within the relationship. The relationship is more about outward appearances rather than emotional connection and things like that. Outward appearances being a relationship that looks like it has all the glitz and glamour on Instagram, or because you guys go out all the time, or because there's a lot of expenses being paid, but it lacks the commitment, it lacks the substance, it lacks the emotion that you need, it lacks the fulfillment you need. Sometimes that fulfillment isn't just, emotion. Sometimes it's sexually too, due to mismatched styles of intimacy. So this could enunciate the feeling that we're losing interest due to the coldness in the relationship and a lack of warmth, a lack of passion, and being over the surface level parts of a connection. And of course, this could translate into jobs since we're dealing with Venus again, and Saturn also having to do with some of our resources and our stability. This could be a situation where we're just not into this job anymore. Maybe we're dealing with an authority figure at the job, a supervisor, a boss that's very oppressive, or we're seeing that we've hit the glass ceiling at this job. There's no room for upward mobility. So this could be a time to assess what we need to do in order to get ourselves in a better position when it comes down to our career. We could be examining how we can go about applying for better opportunities because this is no longer working for us. So it could be a very sobering energy. It's a very uncomfortable energy for all the reasons that I mentioned. So do the best you can when this aspect hits, because it's giving you that nudge needed that it's time for improvement within these areas. And on the 16th, the sun is going to make a semisextile to Neptune, which could create an unclear sense of self. On this day, our confidence within ourselves might feel shaky. We might experience moments of fog. We might experience moments where we're fluctuating in terms of feeling self-confident. And so we have to be aware of how we're talking to ourselves. We have to be aware of negative self-talk. We also have to be aware of looking at ourselves from a distorted lens, because a lot of the times with a Neptune transit to the sun, and the sun having to do with our confidence and how we shine, it could distort the way we view ourselves. So we might not feeling as grand as we normally do. We may not just be feeling as self-assured as we normally do. So a lot of self-doubt could creep in on this day. And so when that happens, try to remember who you are and that this mood will pass, because with these Sun-Neptune alignments, especially one like this, they fluctuate and they do pass, but when they do hit, it's very uncomfortable. So try to remind yourself of how rad you really are and all the strides you've made in your life. But yeah, this is definitely one of those weird weeks with that even split sort of energy rather than being evenly distributed. If we have to have harsh alignments, it's so much better when they're distributed evenly with some harmonious alignments, because at least there's some mitigation. But with something like this, it's a stark contrast sort of week, so it can be confusing when things like this happen. So do the best you can when these energies hit. Anyway, I hope you all have the best week ever later, and see you in the next episode.